Have you ever noticed that sometimes you see things others don't? Subtle patterns in behavior, quiet tensions in a room, or truths about the world that everyone else seems to ignore. At first, it feels like a gift. You notice details, understand motives, and anticipate events in ways others cannot. But over time, it can start to feel heavy, even isolating. Carl Jung observed that some people perceive realities that most overlook, not because they are smarter, but because they are paying attention, really paying attention. And this awareness carries weight, a quiet burden that shapes how you experience life. Imagine sitting in a cafe. People laugh, scroll, text, and carry on as if everything is fine. But you notice the subtle tension behind their jokes, the uncertainty behind their smiles, the emptiness beneath their chatter. It isn't something you can unsee, and it isn't always comfortable to notice. Living with clarity in a world built on distraction and denial can feel lonely. Seeing reality clearly is a strange experience. It is empowering. Yes, you understand the world differently, make sharper decisions, and recognize opportunities others overlook. But it also comes with costs, frustration, misunderstanding, judgment, because most people are not ready to face the truths you see. They avoid them, dismiss them, or label you as overly serious or pessimistic. And so, those who perceive differently often find themselves living between two worlds. One is the ordinary life that everyone else inhabits, safe and predictable. The other is the world as you see it. Vivid, complex, sometimes unsettling. The more clearly you see, the more distant ordinary life can feel. Yet this perception is not a curse alone. It is a rare kind of insight, a key that can guide your life, illuminate choices, and reveal paths others never notice. The challenge is learning to carry it without letting it isolate you entirely. The price of clarity is not comfort. It is awareness, solitude, and a careful balance between what you see and what the world chooses to ignore. And this is only the beginning. Clarity is a quiet burden. Once you begin to notice what others overlook, the world starts to feel heavier. Everyday conversations carry hidden meanings, actions carry silent consequences, and events unfold with layers that remain invisible to most. You start to see patterns in human behavior, connections in society, and small truths that ripple through larger realities. And suddenly, nothing feels simple anymore. At first, it is fascinating. You begin to understand the motives behind people's decisions, the hidden tensions in relationships, the subtle forces shaping the world. Life, in all its complexity, becomes a puzzle you can begin to read. But fascination quickly gives way to exhaustion. Seeing so much so clearly demands attention, focus, and emotional energy. You carry the weight of understanding, even when others do not. Imagine walking down a street where everyone is smiling, nodding, moving through the motions of their daily lives. You notice the anxiety behind the eyes, the fear behind the small gestures, the quiet resignation that goes unnoticed. It is not that people are hiding these things intentionally. Most are unaware. But awareness alone changes how you relate to the world. You can no longer participate in the illusion of simplicity. You cannot ignore the layers beneath the surface. And this awareness is lonely. Conversations feel shallow. Social gatherings feel performative. People laugh at jokes whose meanings escape them, while you see the fragility behind every smile. You may try to speak up, to share your insights, but often the world isn't ready to hear them. You risk being misunderstood, dismissed, or labeled as overthinking, cynical, or detached. The truth becomes a private burden, carried silently, often in isolation. Yet awareness is also a source of power. It allows you to anticipate outcomes, to avoid pitfalls, to navigate the world with a precision others cannot. You begin to recognize opportunities, detect hidden threats, and understand the subtle undercurrents guiding human behavior. The mind sharpens, intuition grows, and decisions gain depth. But this power comes with responsibility. Responsibility to manage what you know without being consumed by it. The danger lies not only in how others perceive you, but in how this clarity affects your own life. You may begin to doubt your place in the world, question social norms, or feel disconnected from the routines that sustain others. The mind that sees clearly can also suffer from overthinking, from imagining consequences that never arrive, from carrying burdens that no one else shares. Awareness is a double-edged sword. It offers insight, but it isolates. It illuminates, but it exposes. Learning to live with this clarity requires balance. You must cultivate patience, develop empathy, and find ways to share understanding without alienating yourself. You must carry the weight lightly, even as you move through a world that prefers ignorance. For those who notice the unseen, life is not simple. It is layered, demanding, and sometimes painful. But in those layers, in that tension, lies the path to deeper wisdom. The weight of awareness is not a punishment. It is the cost of seeing clearly, of living honestly, of navigating a world that often prefers illusion. And if you can bear it, if you can carry it without breaking, you begin to see not only the world as it is, but the possibilities of what it can become. When you see what others cannot, there is a quiet solitude that follows you everywhere. It is not the kind of loneliness born from being alone, but from being fundamentally different, from perceiving layers of reality that remain invisible to the people around you. You begin to notice subtle truths in conversations, in behavior, in the very flow of life. And slowly, you realize that most people simply do not see what you see. They cannot, and they may never want to. At first, this solitude is subtle, almost unnoticed. You feel slightly out of sync with friends or colleagues. You laugh at a joke, but you see its undercurrents. You participate in conversations, but you are always a step removed, analyzing, observing, understanding. People notice your detachment, but they do not understand its source. Some will even call you aloof, difficult, or overly serious, never guessing that your mind is quietly processing the world in ways they cannot comprehend. The deeper you perceive, the more pronounced the separation becomes. You begin to question social norms, to see the fragility of commonly held beliefs, to recognize the contradictions in human behavior. And in doing so, you cannot help but feel a distance from those who remain content with surface-level truth. Their comfort becomes your discomfort, their ignorance becomes your frustration, and their laughter sometimes feels hollow. You start noticing the small cracks in daily life, the hushed anxieties, the unspoken resentments, the hidden insecurities. Things others glance past, you cannot ignore. Sometimes this solitude manifests in more tangible ways. You might find yourself wandering through a crowded street or a busy cafe and feeling utterly disconnected from the people around you. Everyone is engaged in their routines, scrolling, texting, chatting, but their engagement seems superficial. You notice the unspoken stories behind their expressions, the subtle tensions they themselves might not even be aware of. The noise of life carries on, but for you, it feels filtered through a lens that captures more than most are willing to see. And yet, this loneliness is not without purpose. It is a sign that you are awake, that your mind is attuned to layers of reality that remain hidden to the majority. The visionary walks a path few are willing to tread, a path of clarity, understanding, and insight. But it is a path that often feels solitary because the world is designed for shared illusions, not isolated truths. You see patterns and consequences before they occur, yet others continue blindly, unaware, and sometimes resistant to the knowledge you carry. This separation can be difficult. It may tempt you to withdraw, to retreat into your own mind, or to adopt the illusions around you just to feel a sense of belonging. And yet, doing so dulls the very gift that sets you apart. The challenge lies in existing between two worlds, participating in ordinary life, yet maintaining the awareness that allows you to navigate reality differently. You must learn to be present without losing sight of the truth, to engage without compromising perception, and to care without being consumed by the weight of what you see. The visionary learns to balance this tension. Solitude becomes a tool, a space for reflection and understanding, rather than a punishment. Relationships are approached with intention, not convenience. Words are chosen carefully, and truths are shared selectively. You discover that connection does not always require full understanding. Sometimes presence alone is enough. Yet the loneliness of the visionary is real, inescapable, and sometimes suffocating. It is the consequence of seeing what most refuse to notice, the price of clarity in a world built on distraction and comfort. But within that loneliness lies strength. It teaches patience, deepens empathy, and cultivates resilience. It prepares you for the moments when insight is needed most, when subtle understanding can guide decisions that others are blind to. Living with this kind of clarity is a balancing act. The visionary walks a line between engagement and observation, between empathy and detachment, between understanding and isolation. And in walking that line, you discover that solitude, though heavy, can become a companion. A quiet reminder that seeing the world as it is, even when no one else does, is not a burden to bear alone. It is a rare and precious gift, and those who learn to embrace it carry a clarity few ever achieve. There is a strange comfort in looking away. Humans are naturally drawn to avoidance when the truth is uncomfortable. It is easier to pretend, to distract ourselves, to focus on the surface, than to confront the realities that lie beneath. And for those who see clearly, this human instinct can be both a challenge and a revelation. When you perceive what others do not, you quickly realize that most people prefer ignorance. They do not want to know about the flaws, the contradictions, or the hidden dangers in their lives. They avoid reflection, avoid discomfort, avoid anything that might disrupt the fragile balance of routine and comfort. And this avoidance is not weakness, it is survival. The world can be overwhelming if you notice too much, and for most, ignorance is a shield. Yet for the visionary, turning away is rarely an option. You cannot unsee patterns, ignore inconsistencies, or dismiss truths that reveal themselves. The temptation is constant, the desire to retreat into the familiar, to act as if nothing is different, to blend with the crowd and escape the burden of awareness. It is tempting because the cost of clarity can feel unbearable. The isolation, the frustration, the constant tension between reality as it is and reality as others perceive it. Consider a conversation in which everyone is focused on small talk, gossip, or fleeting concerns. You hear beneath the words, feel the implications of actions, and sense the unspoken dynamics at play. You could ignore it, dismiss it, and join the surface-level dialogue. But doing so requires silencing a part of your awareness, suppressing insight that has become a part of who you are. And every time you do, a small part of your vision is dulled. This is the paradox of seeing clearly. Awareness is a gift, but it demands courage. Ignoring the world's undercurrents might bring temporary comfort, but it also diminishes your capacity to act, to understand, and to navigate life with precision. Each moment of avoidance is a moment of potential lost. A decision unseen, an opportunity overlooked, a truth that slips quietly by. The world is designed to encourage distraction. Social media, entertainment, endless chatter. They all offer a way to look away, to avoid the discomfort of awareness. Most people take it gladly, but if you are awake, if you notice, if you understand, these distractions can feel shallow, frustrating, even corrosive. The temptation to ignore is constant, but the choice to confront, reflect, and act is what separates those who live consciously from those who drift unconsciously. And so, the visionary must learn discipline. To balance engagement with reflection, to participate without losing insight, to act in the world while honoring the truth they perceive. Ignorance is easy, but clarity is demanding. Avoidance may feel safe, but understanding is what shapes your life, your choices, and your impact. Choosing awareness over comfort is the quiet, persistent test that defines those who truly see. Because in the end, the world will continue whether you look or not. But those who refuse to look, who surrender to comfort and distraction, miss the depth, the subtlety, the patterns that guide destiny. The temptation to ignore is powerful, but the courage to see is what makes the visionary not just aware, but alive. To see what others do not is a rare gift, but it is also a heavy burden. The clarity that separates you from the crowd can illuminate paths, reveal hidden truths, and sharpen your decisions. Yet it also sets you apart, leaving you alone with the weight of what you know. The world is not always ready to face reality, and neither is everyone around you. To carry this gift is to navigate life between understanding and isolation, insight and solitude, observation and participation. Living with this duality requires awareness, patience, and discipline. You must learn to engage with the world without losing yourself in it, to recognize patterns without becoming cynical, to understand motives without becoming judgmental, and to act with precision without abandoning empathy. It is a delicate balance, one that takes time, reflection, and quiet endurance. There will be moments when the weight feels unbearable, when the isolation stings, when no one seems to notice, when the truths you see feel unshared and unappreciated. These moments are inevitable. They are the test of those who perceive differently, the reminder that clarity is not a path of ease, but they are also opportunities. Opportunities to refine your awareness, strengthen your resilience, and deepen your understanding of the world and yourself. The gift of perception is double-edged. On one side, it allows you to navigate life with subtle insight, to anticipate outcomes before they occur, and to recognize opportunities that others overlook. On the other side, it can make the ordinary feel shallow. Social interactions seem superficial, and everyday life feel frustratingly limited. You see the hidden forces guiding human behavior, the unspoken motives behind actions, the patterns in history and culture that repeat endlessly. And while this understanding can empower you, it can also isolate you from those who prefer simplicity and comfort over awareness. In learning to live with this gift, you discover that solitude is not always a punishment. It can be a sanctuary, a space for reflection, a place where your mind sharpens and your insight deepens. Solitude becomes your companion, a quiet reminder that seeing clearly is rare, valuable, and necessary. You learn to seek relationships with those who can meet you, even partially, on your level of understanding. You learn to choose your moments of speech and observation carefully, knowing that sharing truth indiscriminately often leads to misunderstanding or rejection. Yet there is another lesson hidden within this journey. The burden of perception is not meant to make you despair, but to teach you balance. You're capable of navigating the ordinary world without losing your clarity. You can walk among the distractions, the illusions, the fleeting comforts of society, while maintaining an inner awareness that keeps you grounded in reality. You learn to act without compromising perception, to influence without forcing, and to exist in a world that is often blind to what you see. The world will continue as it always has, full of distractions, illusions, and people who prefer comfort over truth. Yet those who see, who notice, who understand, they shape their own path. They act with knowledge others cannot grasp. They make decisions informed by insight. They are awake while others sleep. And in this awake state lies both the challenge and the extraordinary potential of life. So, what do you do with this gift? How do you honor it without being consumed by it? The answer is simple, but not easy. Live intentionally. Use your perception to guide your choices. Deepen your understanding of yourself and others, and navigate life with courage and clarity. Find the people who resonate with your insight, but do not rely on them entirely. Create space for reflection, for thought, for the quiet recognition that your awareness is both rare and powerful. And if this message resonates, if it stirred something deep, if it made you pause and consider the truths around you, carry it forward. Observe, reflect, and act. Notice the subtle patterns that shape life. Seek understanding where others turn away. And if you want to continue this journey of perception, insight, and awareness, subscribe. Not for the sake of numbers, but to join a space where curiosity is cultivated, awareness is valued, and the journey of seeing clearly continues. Because seeing what others do not is not just a gift, it is a responsibility, a challenge, and above all, a beginning. And this beginning, it is yours to carry, explore, and transform into the life you are meant to live.